Welcome and good evening to the Lewiston City Council for Monday, June 10th, 2013. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is citizens' comments. This is for other than if you have anything in business regarding the public hearing that's up, hold your comments for that public hearing if it pertains to that. But this is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items you wish to bring to the attention of council. You're encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the city manager. In consideration of others wishing to speak, please try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Fred Fritz. I live at 1303 9th Avenue. As a lot of people know, when I have things on my mind, I have to speak them. And I've had a concern for some time. As a matter of fact, I was looking in my book here, and the last notes that I have was when the vote was taken on the roundabout. And I've had concerns since that time. I have a letter into the editor. I'd like to read the letter. I think it'll cover everything that my concern is to begin with. The City of Lewiston has been concerned with pedestrian safety in the past. We have a pedestrian overpass over 2 lanes of traffic at 5th Street to the Dyke and bicycle path, and another over 2 lanes of traffic at the confluence. For another safety concern, the crossing near Country Club Drive, an underpass or tunnel at Snake River Avenue was constructed. To ensure and help the access to the west side of Snake River Avenue, a bike pedestrian path was constructed along Southway. The lights at Snake River Avenue and Southway helped to interrupt the flow of traffic, to make it safer to cross, with a pedestrian button being added later to help with light control. A lot of money has been spent on pedestrian safety. After 10 years of study and $1 million in grants for engineering, I don't believe the pedestrian safety was covered when designing the roundabout. At each entry-exit point, there are 4 lanes of traffic, over 60 feet to cross. It's a truck route with trucks, trailers, motorhomes, and farm trucks moving at a steady flow along with normal city traffic. I believe the responsibility for future pedestrian safety should rest on the shoulders of the present city manager and on the city council members who voted for the roundabout. When the city encouraged bike and pedestrian crossing at Snake River Avenue and a roundabout makes it less safe, I believe the city has a liability. Now, my concern is when they're crossing 2 lanes of traffic and you have lights and you have a path coming down Southway and you're going to have over 60 feet, 4 lanes with over 60 feet for people to get across with trucks and the rest. And when all the other money's been spent for all this safety and everything in the city, I have a real concern about pedestrian safety at that roundabout. And that's why I had to come and say something. I did mention that tonight, that it was voted on, but I realized that saving that $1 million that might have to be paid back was bigger. But I don't know what price you put on pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Megan Chavez Anderson. I live at 1102 10th Avenue here in Lewiston. I am the owner of Children's House Montessori School, and your agenda item has been continued until your next meeting in regards to the lease that I've proposed for the Carnegie Library building in Pioneer Park for my school. I just wanted to state my 3 reasons why I'm hoping that my business will be considered for the next lease for that building. Number 1, it would be to support a thriving small business that's in the town, my school. Number 2, my school provides high-quality early childhood education and is also moving forward in providing high-quality private elementary school education. Number 3, the Carnegie Library building has been one of my favorite historical buildings in this town since I moved here. When I was 10 years old, it was still the library. And I have a great passion to help restore this building to its former glory and put a business in there that will see the building thrive, support our park, as well as continue to support our downtown. So thank you so much for your consideration. I will see you in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Thank you.
My name is Tate Smith. I live at 318 6th Avenue. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old that go to the Montessori school, and I'm just here in support of Megan Chavez Anderson. Since she's brought the Montessori school here and my kids have started to attend, it's been amazing how much they've flourished. You know, you can really measure that when you're sitting at the dinner table and your kids are actually sharing educational things that they've learned. And so being able to expand into a very nice facility, a historic facility at Pioneer Park there, I'm very excited of the possibilities, and I look forward to what your vote will be this coming, or this next meeting. Also excited about the opportunities of supporting the downtown. Megan talked about that, and with the new library, it's a short walk for these kids to be able to go down and take advantage of that educational opportunity downtown. So thank you, and appreciate your support.
Gary Bush, 912 18th Avenue. Victor Hugo wrote, "A library implies an act of faith." Approximately 7 years ago, Lewiston City Council voted to take a step of faith that a library board and a library foundation could raise the millions necessary to build a new library and fulfill a dream. That dream has been realized, and now the City Council has the opportunity to give that library adequate funding. That funding will allow our Valley residents to access this beautiful facility on evenings and weekends. A library is not a luxury, but a necessity of life. Our legacy does not stand on what we do this moment or what we will do next week, but stands on the foundation of all that preceded. How I voted years ago as I sat at your place was not a thought last Saturday as I watched hundreds upon hundreds of smiling faces as they filed into our new library. My attention was on the children as they ran in the door to find some imaginary friends waiting in a book. My attention was also on the beaming faces of those who worked so hard and sacrificed so much to fulfill a dream. Vote for the budget increases for our city library. It deserves it. The children deserve access to dreams. Vote as if that child is sitting next to you. My favorite quote on libraries comes from Megan, who is age 12 in Indiana. If we didn't have libraries, many people thirsty for knowledge would dehydrate. Thank you, and I know that you all sitting here will do the right thing for our city library. Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments this evening? Okay, we'll move on to the presentations and public hearings. First item we have is a proclamation to Lewis Clark Senior Games Week. And it reads, whereas the Senior Games program, initiated by a dedicated group of community members in 1998, will celebrate its 15th year in the Lewis Clark Valley. And the purpose of the Lewis Clark Senior Games is to provide an opportunity for men and women 50 or better to participate and compete in a wide variety of sports and activities, including archery, bowling, cycling, pickleball, racquetball, shuffleboard, swimming, table tennis, target shooting, tennis, track and field, volleyball, and road racing in a friendly and fun atmosphere. And over the last 15 years, several thousand citizens and visitors have participated in our local senior games, bringing a boost to the local economy, and with many progressing to the Idaho State Senior Games and on to the National Senior Games. And the Lewis Clark Senior Games bring national attention to yet another benefit to seniors choosing to make this area their home. For the large population of persons in this area over the age of 50, these games create an opportunity to increase and challenge their physical and mental fitness, adding to their own quality of life and that of our community. Now, therefore, the Lewiston City Council do hereby proclaim June 17th through the 22nd, 2013, as Lewis Clark Senior Games Week in Lewiston, Idaho, and urge our citizens to support and participate in this great opportunity. And we have Kathy Robinson to come accept the proclamation.
First, I'd like to thank the City Council for their recognition and support of the Lewis Clark Senior Games. It's truly a labor of love that we put these games together. The Washington, Idaho Volunteer Center this will be our 5th year of doing it in co-sponsorship with the Lewiston Parks and Recreation. The Senior Games offers 13 different sports and almost 100 different events to participate. 50 years of age or better to participate. We are introducing an event called the Run to the Sun. You can be 49 and under. That's the 5K walk run. And that'll be at the same time as the 5K walk run for the Senior Games. We would just like to encourage everybody to either participate, to help us by volunteering, or to just come out and be a spectator and root on these athletes. And again, thank you so very much.
And who may, folks or groups would like to volunteer, who would they contact?
They can contact me at the Volunteer Center,
Okay.
and we have a website, lewisclarkgames.org, where you can get that phone number, or it's 746-7787. Just give me a
Thank you.
call. Thank you.
Next item, we have a public hearing for the CDBG fiscal year 2013 through 17 consolidated plan. We'll be accepting testimony on the community needs and potential CDBG projects. And to present it, we have
Good afternoon, John Epler. I'm at 2615 Mount St. Helens Place in Seattle, and I'm the consultant who has been hired to, under John Epler and Associates, to prepare the consolidated plan for the city this year, and I've been working with the staff for several weeks now through the process. It's my pleasure to be here and to talk about the Community Development Block Grant Program as starting the process of the public hearing. And leading to what's called a 5-year consolidated plan on housing and community development for the city. It's a strategic plan that will cover that 5-year period, and then also there'll be a 1-year annual action plan that will be developed in the process. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I would like to use, but if anybody has any questions as I go through, please interrupt me. I'm just going to give a little bit of idea about the process, the needs that we've found so far, and what steps are going to be taken in the future. Each year, HUD provides the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development provides an amount of money to the city to carry out community development, housing needs, public services needs in its community. One of the prerequisites for that is that we do a thorough needs assessment in those areas, and that we give citizens an opportunity to comment on it. And we'll do that a little bit later and have a formal period where they can testify. To give a little bit of background, the hearing will cover 4 things. It's the housing and community development needs. We'll talk about CDBG resources, which is the amount of money that's available for activities, and then talk about what eligible activities there are. and finally have an opportunity for citizens to make comments. Before I get into that part, I want to talk about the planning process and what we've done so far. The consolidated planning process involves research of city, county, regional documents and strategic plans, and also data that's available through the state and through the census and changes that have occurred in the city. We do interviews of key persons. I think so far we've interviewed over 20 people who have been identified as parties who have been involved in providing services to low and moderate income people, people who are at 80% of median family income or below. That's the target population. We've formed an advisory group of about a dozen people who have met 3 times now to go over the needs, strategies, and approaches that we might take. And of course, we're having this hearing, after which we'll develop a strategic plan and the annual action plan and give the community an opportunity to comment on that plan starting on June 19th. I believe it'll be published at the website. And the community will have 30 days in which to talk about it. To review it. So the amount of money you have available this year is, and that we're talking about for a 1-year plan, as you can see, over 5 years, it'd be over well over $1 million available. So the basic grant that you're getting this year is $216,000 plus. And the staff have estimated that you have about $60,000 in income that comes from repayments on loans that are made under the SNAPS program, the housing rehabilitation loan. So you have about $276,000. What you can use the funds for are, as I mentioned before, assisting low and moderate income persons. That's the primary objective that HUD has as under the federal law. You can do that under either a direct benefit, so that you're providing services directly to an individual who is in a household with that's low and moderate income, or an area benefit where 51% or more of the people in that area are low and moderate income. HUD has a couple of other objectives. One is the removal of slums and blight. So if you have a deteriorated area of the community, or you have individual buildings which need significant repair, or where there are code violations or dangerous buildings, you can take care of those. There's a third one that rarely is used. Essentially, if a bridge was to collapse, it's possible to use the CDBG funds on an emergency basis to deal with that. Rarely used. To talk about eligible activities, and there are more copies of this, I believe up at the top. I wanted to hand out a little matrix that provides an idea of what kinds of things you can use the money for, and also gives an idea of the kinds of things you've done in the past. As you can see from this matrix, the kinds of things you can do are physical improvements, provide infrastructure like community facilities or neighborhood facilities. You can put in utilities, you can demolish slums and blighted areas, buildings, you can help with relocation of people. The kinds of things that Lewiston have done in the past are in red. There are a lot of activities that fall under this, but you can see they've done a water system extension into a low and moderate income neighborhood, rehabilitated a building for, actually they'll be rehabilitating a building for hygiene center for homeless individuals. They provided funds for a shelter, elevator for handicapped, purchased land for low and moderate income rental housing. Under the housing category, you can construct multifamily housing, rental housing, or homeless housing for the homeless or disabled individuals. You can rehabilitate single-family housing or multifamily housing. and do code enforcement, and then assist homeowners for down payment assistance. You in the past have done things like rehabilitate homeownership housing, done quite a bit of that successfully, and you've done some work on rehabilitating some of the low and moderate income housing that exists in the community. Public services, those are a broad range of services for individuals who need help in education, maybe direct services in terms of counseling or treatment of issues, health, mental or dental or medical. Lots of different things. Some things to prevent homelessness, persons at risk of homelessness. And some things that you've done in the past is provide adult education, literacy, purchase a van for providing a way for citizens to get to low and moderate income services. Finally, economic development is another category, assisting businesses and services for businesses to create jobs or retain them. And the kinds of things you've done is work in downtown. You'll see in red downtown with the commercial area providing infrastructure and facade improvements. Also done some correcting of code violations. We've done some research, and this is a two-page summary of the kinds of things that we see as major needs. Actually, it's not a complete summary. It's just some of the highlights of some of the needs we've identified by research. Again, copies are available at the top. So not to go through exhaustively and cover this, I just want to point out a few areas. You have down in income and employment, you have about 11% of the population that's in poverty. Females, head of households with children under 18, 40% of the individuals in that category are in poverty. So there's a significant number of single female head of households that are in need. Living wage is a problem here. Your unemployment isn't as high, it's still high, but not as high as some of the other communities in the state and also the U.S. But livable wage jobs, you can see the last bullet down there. If a household with one adult and two children need $45,000 a year to maintain affordable housing in your area, that is at 35% of their income paying for housing, then they need an income of $45,000, whereas the median for the area is $25,000, a significant gap. Checking down in services, you can see in the second bullet, or first bullet, meal gap. That's a categorization of how of families who don't have enough to cover their needs for children is 15% in the county population. Transportation. We've heard over and over again about lack of transportation to get to jobs and then get to services, particularly in the off hours. Inadequate medical and dental services. Working poor have very little coverage, and the cost of it is very high. Dental care is very difficult to go look for a job if your teeth are not in good shape. Substance abuse and mental illness. That's an area where there are significant needs that we've seen in the community. On the second page, on the back, you'll see in housing that while you have quite low vacancy rates, what that tends to do is drive up the costs of rental housing. It makes it more difficult for people to find it. You also have some fairly old units of housing in the single-family range in particular that need rehabilitation. Housing costs here are a major issue. Partly, you saw that we talked about livability of livable wages, I'm sorry. That relates a lot to the housing costs. So we're not keeping up with wages to cover the housing. That fourth bullet down, where it says 44% of the renters are paying 30% or more of their income, that's almost half of the population are paying more than they really can afford according to national standards. And that's quite a bit. That's not a good sign, because what they basically will have to do is to try to find other ways to make it, reducing their food, nutrition, medical care, and so forth. Going down a little further in homelessness, we found in the point-in-time count that, well, not we, the community, when it went out to the point-in-time count, found a significant number of homeless people. Many were not counted because they weren't found in that particular day. But of those that were, 25% were victims of domestic violence, and 20% were seriously mentally ill, having significant needs. The YWCA had 736 requests in the last year for shelter, much of which they could not provide. Down at the bottom, we pulled out a little bit of information from some of the county and city plans that show that you've got significant needs in terms of desire for park improvements. There's streets, curbs, gutters that are still yet to be completed. So that's what some of the research tells us, and we also talk these issues over with the advisory group and begin to sort of play them back and forth about what is possible and what some of the issues are that could be dealt with. The area of housing, what the data and the information begins to tell us suggest are activities to help homeowners, those that are already in housing that are struggling to maintain them. So energy efficiency, dealing with some of the code violations, the roofs, the breaking down of the basic systems in the housing. That's a need, housing rehabilitation. Home buyers, affordability is a difficult issue, so assistance, maybe down payment assistance leads us to that suggestion. New affordable rental housing. I mentioned earlier that the vacancy rates are very low, and one of the ways that you help modify that to some extent is by increasing the supply of rental housing that's affordable. In terms of infrastructure, the streets, curbs, gutters, lighting, those are significant in the community. Under services, job creation and training, transportation, homeless assistance, substance abuse. There's a long list, I might say. So that's where we are now, is we're taking those needs and beginning to turn them into strategies. The next step will be for developing a one-year plan with action steps, how you'll spend the money this next year. We're beginning to work through that. As I mentioned before, we'll have the citizen comment period on the documents themselves, and there'll be some modifications, I presume. The council may want to do that, staff may want to do that based upon the city comments. And eventually, the council will have an opportunity to approve it and send it on to HUD for the program. And I think at this stage, before we go to the public comment period, I wondered if there were any questions that you might have.
Council have any questions of Mr. Hepler? There's none at this time, but
Okay.
Stay close.
Okay.
Okay. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing to take testimony for and against the CDBG Consolidated Plan. Is there any testimony this evening? come on up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Kind of short here. My name's Christina Miller. I'm at 1111 17th Avenue, and I know I only have a few minutes, so I'll speak really fast. I'm at the head person over the program Hand of Hope, which is through also the Salvation Army, and we are a grant-funded organization that helps people with transitional housing. This grant that's being offered is a godsend in many ways if we can help more people that are facing homelessness in our community. And I would really like to vivaciously say that I think it would be great to see more people assisted. I have a long waiting list for families and single individuals just from my program. And being able to talk to other people who had other programs like Family Promises and the Y, Sojourners, other programs in Spokane, Boise. Lewiston needs to kind of get up there a little bit in helping people because we're lacking in a lot of different areas that we could help people. And a lot of people don't want to leave this valley, to believe it or not. They do not want to go to Spokane to a homeless shelter or Boise. They want to stay here in Lewiston, Idaho. They love it here. They're literally living in their cars, tents, places like that. So to see how much they love this valley and Lewiston really has given me some strength to stand before people and testify to this fact. And I would just like everyone to know that I know there's great need for many, many other things in our community, but I think our community is beautiful. It's a wonderful place. But to see people not truly being able to enjoy the beauty like everyone else, I think the percentage of people that are really impoverished and barely making it is a lot higher. I would say it's a good 50% if you compare us to the rest of the world or Idaho. But people stay here because they love it here. So it's sad to ship people out on buses to other cities to get them to help, which is sad to see because they love it here so much. So I can't say enough how much I appreciate being a part of the city and helping people, and I'll continue to help people. It'd just be nice to see a little bit more money to do that, and it would be very appreciated to many people that come in my office and cry every day. They have nowhere to go, nowhere to live. So hopefully I'm speaking from the heart for these people as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony for or against this plan this evening? See no other ones wishing to offer testimony. We'll go ahead and close this hearing. There'll be, right now, there's no action at this time, but there will be a resolution or something adopting the plan coming to us later, at a later date. Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There'll be two items. Item C on the consent agenda, we'll move to active agenda item C. Resolution 2013-30, item D on the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to continue resolution 2013-30 to the next council meeting.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue resolution 2013-30 to the next council meeting. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just have a question. Why?
They haven't had time to review and approve the lease for the thing, so they asked for 2 more weeks.
Okay.
So, any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Resolution 2013-30 has been continued. I'll entertain a motion to read the consent agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to read the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Approving the meeting minutes of the May 6, 2013 Joint Council Urban Renewal Agency. Accepting the minutes of the April 24th Parks and Recreation Commission and the March 27th and April 10th, 2013 Planning and Zoning. Approving the vouchers payable for April 26, 2013 through May 9th, 2013 in the amount of $2,024,934.91 and May 10th through May 23rd, 2013 in the amount of $1,422,643.10. And this excludes payments to Albertsons, Han Rental, and Han Supply.
Okay, council, the consent agenda has been read. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to read the consent, or approve the consent agenda as read. Is there any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to the active agenda. The first item is vouchers payable to Albertsons from 5/10/2013 through 5/23 for the amount of $276.15. I'll entertain a motion to approve vouchers payable to Albertsons for $276.15 with Councilor Daniel abstaining for conflict of interest.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve vouchers payable to Albertsons for $276.15. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0 with Councilor Daniel abstaining. Next item of business is possible approval of vouchers payable to Han Rental, Han Supply for $2,831.72. I'll entertain a motion to approve vouchers payable to Han Rental, Han Supply for $2,831.72 with Councilor Kleberg abstaining for conflict of interest.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve vouchers payable to Han Rental, Han Supply. Any discussion by council? Hearing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0 with Councilor Kleberg abstaining. Next item of business is a possible bid award for FEMA 1 Stormwater Collection Project. To put a motion on the floor, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bid award for FEMA 1 Stormwater Collection Project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the award of the bid to Western Construction and Excavation. Is there any discussion by council? Council, I do have a concern with this bid award, and it's more than once that I have heard, and I'm sure we've all heard, that they want to see the city run more like a business. And we're currently in a form of legal action with this contractor. And the second bidder, what the council could do is deem Western Construction unresponsive because of the legal action and accept the second bidder, which is a little less than $23,000 more, but still under the engineer's estimate. Myself, I have a concern about doing business with folks that continue to have a legal action with us until it's resolved. And so at that time, I can't support at least awarding the contract to Western Construction and Excavation. Councilor Stevenson.
Are we at the point of discussion about the amendment or just about reading it?
Right now, we can amend if we want,
Okay.
if we wish.
I do have a question, and that was why did Horrocks recommend them? Didn't they know the history of, the subcontractor? Didn't they know the history of what's been going on with Western?
Ms. Shropshire.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm not sure what Horrocks knew or didn't know. I'm convinced they probably did, but just because pretty much everybody knows what's going on. But I have to tell you, I cannot find any legal reason to reject the bid of Western Construction. In the state of Idaho, we have a couple of cases in an Attorney General's opinion that indicates that just because a contractor is in legal action with you doesn't give you the right to reject a bid if they're the apparent low bidder. Were we in Oregon or Washington, we could take that into consideration.
Councilor Kleber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm total agreement with Jamie. I mean, these are totally different issues that we're discussing here. And Councilor Stevenson brought that up once before when there was it was a concrete project or something, and she asked the question, aren't we in legal limbo with these people? And yeah, we were, but nothing precludes them from getting a set of bid documents from the city, like all the other contractors had to, or from the plan center or whatever. And they took the best shot, and their pencil came out a little bit sharper than the others. And that's just the way I see it. I have no problem with the other three contractors that actually bid. You know, I mean, they've all worked here. I've worked with all three companies. I mean, that's just, they came in, they're low responsive bidder. I don't see any reason to justify not awarding, unless we want to throw them all out and start over.
In the general conditions, it does state in there that the awarding agency could deem a bidder non-responsive and for other reasons. And I think this is one that I felt was important enough to bring up to council to consider. That for myself, I just don't know if it's good business practice to enter into another contractual agreement with someone that currently has a legal issue with the city at this time. Pro Tem Campbell.
Mr. Mayor, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and even though we are in legal litigation with this company, I guess I'd be a little hard pressed if we didn't have something in the pre-conference or something in the documents that said if you're under legal something, if you're being sued or if you're suing the city or anything like that, that you'd be excluded from the project. There was no any type of wording or anything to that stating any of that kind of thing. I think we'd probably set ourselves up for another lawsuit if we didn't award this project to Western Construction. I know there were a lot of issues on the last project, and so a lot of that was taken care of, but a lot of it wasn't. And of course, they went through the steps, and of course, our city attorney's been working probably the last year on fighting this, and she just finally got done with the litigation, I think, last week. Jamie, wasn't it last week?
Yes, it was a week-long arbitration.
Yeah, week-long arbitration. So, but I'm just afraid that if we didn't have anything in the documents before that stating some of these concerns that we have, that I think we're setting ourselves up for another lawsuit, and I don't really particularly want to go through that process. Again, I think it's a local company. I think that they're going to be under a great deal of scrutiny on this job to make sure that the documentation and all the reporting is going to be done. So I just think we need to move on and award this bid.
Councilor Daniel.
I hadn't given any thought to the legal action. You brought up that's a good point. So is the position of our city attorney that we'd be exposing ourselves to further legal action if we reject this bid?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think that's potential. As I said, I researched this particular issue on behalf of the Department of Public Works to determine whether or not we could legally reject a bid simply because we're in litigation. And what I can find in Idaho, and there's not very much law on it, but there is an Attorney General's opinion in a couple of cases that say we cannot reject a bid simply because we're in litigation with the contractor.
Councilor Stevenson.
So, Mr. Mayor, the previous project that became controversial with that what's now would be a subcontractor, I guess. How much did that cost us in overruns and legal fees?
Well, so far it hasn't cost us anything in legal fees because the arbitrator hasn't made his decision.
Okay.
And overruns is a difficult question to answer. The contractor bid about $546,000 for the project. At the end of it, because we eliminated some of the projects and we paid them some extra for rock excavation and a couple of other things, I think we paid him about $570,000. It's up to the arbitrator to determine whether or not there's anything else owed or whether or not they're the prevailing party and are entitled to legal fees. Their attorney has submitted a bill for $159,000 in legal fees and an additional $16,000 in costs.
I guess, counsel, what I'd put it to you is if this was your personal business and you had a kitchen remodel that you had a contractor file a lien on that you're in dispute on work quality or whatever, and you decided to do another remodel on your house, would you hire that same person until that was resolved? I know that me personally, I would have a hard time doing that. And again, like I said, in the general conditions, as far as I'm concerned, I think that we have good standing that just because of other reasons that we can deem Western Construction as non-responsive and award to the next responsive bidder, which would be S&L Underground. Again, they're less than $23,000 more. It's still under the engineer's estimate. And I think that's I guess the way I look at it in doing business with these folks, do we get sued now or do we get sued during the project? And I just have a serious concern awarding the project to Western Construction. Councilor Kleber.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if City Manager Sean, maybe you could answer the question. Haven't they successfully completed projects since they finished the tunnel without any problems?
Projects for us and projects for
Yes, thank you.
Pro Tem Cannon.
Again, I won't argue your reasoning, but we are a public entity, and that's where it lies. I have the obligation, if somebody does a bad kitchen job for me, to hire somebody else to do it or to redo it. Nobody's going to sue me over that. I just think that we, being a public entity, with the documents that were handed to all of the contractors, that I just think we're just going to put a bad name out there for ourselves about if we don't do this and if we don't award this bid, and I just think it's going to be a lot of bad publicity for us as a community, and maybe a lot of contractors would not bid a project because they're going to throw us out even for a little bit anyway, so I don't want to waste my time. So again, I think this is something we're going to have to swallow hard a little bit and understand what we went through previously, but I still think we need to stick with the procedure and award to the low bidder.
Councilor Daniel.
This is really coming out of left field for me. I really wasn't prepared for this, and I'm leaning with the mayor's position on this, but I don't know if when do we have to vote on this? We have to vote on this tonight?
What we would do is you could amend the action to award to basically do two things: deem Western Construction as non-responsive and award the bid to the next responsive bidder, which would be S&L Underground.
Can you also?
You said there were two options.
No, that'd be the two steps. That'd be one option. Or, yeah, you could reject all bids and go back out for bid. But I think that we've got bids that are under the engineer's estimate that I think that we've actually still got some good pricing, so.
No, I understand that. I'm just asking, could we postpone this until, the 24th, or when's our next?
I think, Mr. Mayor, you'd want to ask the engineer and the public works people that are here.
John Watson with Cell Engineering. Per the contract, there's 60 days after the bid opening before you award a bid or all bids go null and void for that potential. So I think the bids were opened, what was it?
May 30th.
No, it
What
was
was bid on 30th?
April 16th. So the 60 days is up here in a couple of days, so.
If we didn't vote on it,
They'd have to rebid, reject the bids and rebid. Any further discussion by council?
Could I have 5
Councilor
minutes?
Dan?
Can I have 5 minutes to think about this? I've been trying to listen to everyone and also try to form my opinion on a perspective I wasn't even considering when I came in here.
But
So
we haven't even read yet.
This is true.
Correct?
We don't need to read, it's just an award, just
Okay.
approve an award. We don't need to read anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Well then, if I may, I guess I'll go back to the same point. They have completed projects since the underpass was completed to the satisfaction of the city apparently, and I don't see this as any different business arrangement than any other one that we've got with any of their contractors. We toss the bids, now everybody knows what everybody's number is. And I agree with Brad Cannon that start losing credibility when you do that. Everybody knows what everybody else's number is.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Arndt.
I think just the fact that we've had the discussion this evening should be another one of those alert messages to Western Construction that that's not exactly, we have not thought that they are playing the game fairly in some aspects, but I do believe that we need to be responsive to this bid. We ourselves need to be responsive to the lowest bid.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the award to the FEMA 1 stormwater collection to Western Construction Excavation for $722,179, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion. Renee? Okay, motion carries 5-2. Okay, we'll move on to the unfinished and new business. City councilor comments. Any Councilor Ortman?
Thank you. Former Councilor Bush started the evening with a comment from Victor Hugo, the French philosopher and author, and I'm going to move to the Spanish realm a little bit, to Ortega y Gasset, and from the Golden Age, who said, "I am I and my circumstance." And I like to alter that just a little bit. I am I and my circumstance is good. That's how I felt on Saturday morning when I was with all of the other citizens who joined us for the dedication of the 5th Street corridor and for the library that is to become the cultural cornerstone, or at least the cornerstone, maybe better said, the cornerstone of the cultural and commercial center in beautiful downtown Lewiston. There were, from stroller to wheelchair, people streamed into the library on Saturday morning. And every citizen who has paid taxes and every child that belongs to every one of those parents has purchased the privilege of placing a footprint on that restored vintage hardwood that is so beautiful in the library. And I congratulate them for doing that. Congratulations have come our ways from lots of corridors. Our foreign exchange student from 1981 sent an email after seeing the pictures of the new library and commenting on how the city has changed. And he said, congratulations from the southern part of the world on this particular project. I think this project will be a source of pride for everyone in the community, even those who have had some objections along the way. I think they will use the library and will enjoy that possibility. There was a great rehabilitation of a key piece of historical and commercial property in downtown Lewiston. We were joined, and I would like to congratulate all of you first, but we were also joined by former councilors, Kluss and Mayor Nessett and Councilor Bush, Councilor Bromling, and I hope I haven't missed anyone else. I know
Mayor
that
Shin.
John, pardon?
Mayor Shin.
Mayor Shin, who was there, along with his wife.
Delitha Kilgore.
And Delitha Kilgore, former mayor, former president of the Association of Idaho Cities as well. The two people who preceded me on the library board, John Curran, who's one of the best-read people I know is in favor of this project. I didn't see him on Saturday morning, but I know I'm going to see him in the library. And then, of course, John A.K. Barker, who, in his quiet way, probably read more than any of us ever gave him credit for, because we saw him with the mustache sitting here for 12 years, reading those volumes of papers that we read. Every one of those should have everyone there, I think, expressed a great sense of pride in what was done. Maybe that's because we all understand well that what we put in our head, no one can take from us. And this is a great opportunity for us to have the resources we need. I need to say very quickly that there are some amazing statistics that came out of Saturday. There were 1,800 people who came through the door on Saturday. We went through 100 dozen cookies in less than an hour and 45 minutes. In that 4-hour period, 1,075 people checked out books, DVDs, and other library materials. 92 people got a new library card. 700 people signed up for the summer reading program. I think it was obvious to me that there was a wow factor when people walked through the door and saw 21,000 square feet in the first phase of this building being utilized, and it has the potential that it does for us in the future. They saw the wireless internet in action. They saw the DVDs, they saw the audios, they saw the other materials that were there. 50,000 books, that's only 2/3 of our collection. There's another third of the collection sitting in the basement of the library. We have key collections like genealogy that haven't made it up yet from the basement. There will be temporary places for that activity to take place until the second floor is completed. There are 40 computers there now as opposed to the 5 computers that were there originally. There are 55 seats in the public meeting room at the top of the stairs that was used for the gallery display put together on the Seminicum Club. There are 2 conference rooms in the library. There are places to plug in your laptops. And when I was by there this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, every window was filled with a person in a chair reading a book or a magazine, and there were people, there was one girl outside on the bench reading a book, and that's what's supposed to happen in that particular area. We're not done. We're not done. There's a lot to do. And we'll all have to pitch in to get it done in the future. We certainly want to facilitate research, which can take place on the second floor. Many of the stacks were not there yet. They're still on order. None of the display cases for historical displays, et cetera, were there yet, and they will be arriving. There's still some recognition to be given to people who participated in the process, including pillars of the community. But I think probably the best thing is that every single person who put $1, every single person who has purchased a library card is one of those pillars of the community, because they're all participating in our greatest resource, what we put in our heads. And if we offer this source of knowledge to ourselves, to our children, to our grandchildren, to our neighbors, we have engaged in an extremely honorable task. And every stroller, every wheelchair, and every fleeting foot that goes into that library for the next 50 years will say thank you to everybody who has given what they have, from $1 to $1 million. Thank you, Lewiston. Thank you, Council.
Any other councilor comments this evening? Councilor Cleburne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try and follow that up. No, Saturday was a great day. You know, I actually got up early, read the paper, and So everybody knows I brought my yard into compliance with our weed ordinance through the judicious use of a weed whacker. Spent several hours out there. But what a way to celebrate my 28th anniversary of marriage with my wife than to take her down there on Saturday for something that she's wanted since we moved here back in 1985. She was first time for her to even walk in the building, and she anxiously awaited it. She loves it. Just the looks on everybody's faces. And it wasn't just Lewiston people. A few folks that I know came over from Clarkston, brought their kids with them too. We were talking out on the sidewalk and whatnot. And just to have everybody down there. And we did have, bulk of the council. I mean, I know there's some councilors that didn't always support it, but I was glad that everybody showed up, took part in the celebration. But I would be remiss in my duties as a counselor if I didn't thank the one guy that I think kind of brought this to the front 6 years ago. That was Jay Kraus. Came to us with the idea of the $200,000, provided there was matching funds. He and Don brought that to us. We all voted on it, and I would also like to thank the council at that time. That was Jim Kluss, Matthew Carlson, Gary Bush, Dr. Ortman, John Curran, myself, and Mayor Havens. And that was a commitment we took 6 years ago, and we took a lot of heat at the time, not as much as we've taken recently, I suppose, but I think when all's said and done, it was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before we go too far, I just hope everybody will find their lawn chairs. We'll have 300 chairs at least, but under the tree canopy right across from City Hall on the 10th of July. But bring your own chairs if you've got them. Get ready for another dedication, which is that of the Idaho Territorial Capitol. It'll take place at 11 o'clock on the 10th of July. That will be another stellar day for Lewiston, and it is the entry event for the celebration of the sesquicentennial for the Idaho Territory. And this is the place where it happened. This is where the action was, and this is where the action will be.
Any other councilor comments?
Sure, I'll chime in.
Councilor Stevenson.
On the library. It was a really fun day. I didn't go planning to bring home books, so I had to purchase a book bag. They're for sale down there at the library. I'll do a little sales pitch, and it's wonderful, nice and hefty, so you can take your books home. I tried purchasing one of the aprons that the helpers were wearing, but they were startled. They didn't realize that someone might have suggested that they were for sale, so they were going to find out. So I recommend anybody. It's a really neat apron, and it would be fun to be at home with your friends of the library apron, find out how much they are, and join in the fun.
Yeah. Saturday, I had the opportunity to have some good friends I hadn't seen in years come through from Pocatello to see us, and they just happened to show up just as we were opening up the library. So I told them to come check this out, and it was an opportunity to show off our downtown. And they hadn't been through Lewiston in probably 15 years or better since they went to University of Idaho. So it was I was proud to be able to show our town off to some visitors, and I really do thank the folks that showed up Saturday. It's good to see the excitement and in the buzz, and I know that folks are appreciative of what the library is. And Councilor Kurt Kleber, I agree that this library didn't happen just because of this council. There's a lot of folks, previous councils, that had a lot to do with just putting the small pieces together. I know that I was on council when we hired Don Whitman, and when she came back and said, I have this idea of building a new library, I thought she was nuts, but that lady is definitely persistent. But no, I think it's a very good showcase. I guess, some folks say, well, this is a cornerstone, and I kind of look at it as it's one of several anchors we have downtown now. I think that there's a lot of private investment going on, or has gone on, that has really kind of put the polish and shine on downtown. And so I think that just to the credit of our community. So I thank everybody for that. Mr. Bennett, any city manager comments this evening?
Well, we're going to take this show on the road to Boise next week to the Association of Idaho Cities. to showcase the very things we've been talking about, the tremendous success of the First and Fifth Street project downtown, the new library, and I think it'll be great to be able to show that to all of our sister cities throughout Idaho to see what we're doing up here in Lewiston, and it'll be a really great opportunity to showcase what we've done here in Lewiston.
Advisory Board and Commission appointments, any this evening? I have one. I'd like to appoint Shannon Grow to the MPO Policy Board. So,
Do we need to vote?
yes. I'd
Well, I
like
move that
those-
we, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Stevens.
I move that we appoint Shannon to the MPO. She's been on that board in a different, I don't know what capacity she would be serving as, but she's familiar with MPO. She's a great fit.
Yes, I agree. I think where she's our transit director, she brings a key piece to what the MPO is about. And so I think it would be very helpful to have her serve on the board.
Second that motion?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Recommendation stands. Shannon Grow is now approved.
We do have one other appointment to consider, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Bennett.
We have been talking about the Planning and Zoning Commission and the appointment of a representative to represent the area of city impact. Some confusion prevailed about who was the actual authority that should be making that appointment, because that is a county resident, although they would be a member of the Lewiston Planning and Zoning Commission. We consulted with the county, and their preference would be for the city to appoint that position.
Okay.
So, Councilor Kleberg, I will leave it to you to make the nomination.
Well, then I would be happy to appoint Paula Pintar to the Lewiston City Planning and Zoning Commission as the representative for the area city impact.
So the motion on the floor is to approve approval of Paula Pintar to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any discussion?
I think the only discussion is that Councilor Kleberg deserves a bottle of
Yeah,
champagne
really.
after this one.
It's been a long time.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Recommendation stands. Thank Ms. Pintar for stepping up. We appreciate it. Any other advisory board and commission appointments this evening? Okay. Work session agenda topics. Any, Councilor Daniel?
Probably not necessarily a work session agenda topic, but I know we had received a letter from the county commissioners requesting a meeting. And I know a lot of what that meeting may entail will be a result of what happens at the URA meeting tomorrow. But they did give us a date timeframe that they'd like to meet us. I think the 12th through the 18th, and I'd like us to have that meeting. If we were requesting the meeting, we'd at least appreciate we'd at least respond, and we'd probably meet with them. We rarely get a chance to meet with them.
I agree. I think that what we need to do is see what transpires at the urban renewal meeting, and then maybe set something up, have Mr. Bennett set that up with the county at that time.
That's kind of our thinking as well. We wanted to give the URA board an opportunity first to address the request, since they're the actual agency responsible for urban renewal in Lewiston, and then we will follow that up with a direct contact with the Board of Commissioners.
I know that I have LTAC board meeting. I'll be out of town Thursday and Friday this week, and then the Association of Idaho Cities meeting is 18th. I'll be leaving the 18th, traveling to Boise. So I don't know if we can squeeze something in by the 17th or
Well, I think we'll shoot for Monday.
next Monday?
Mhm.
Okay.
Good.
Sounds good. Okay, so
Mr.
maybe
Mayor, Mr.
Monday
Mayor,
afternoon?
I will not be available next Monday.
Next
I'll be
Monday.
traveling.
Okay. Well, let's see what we can possibly put together, or see if it's even necessary at that time.
Right.
Okay. Any other work session agenda topics this evening? Hearing none, thank everyone. This meeting is adjourned.